Alright, hello guys. I just had a really bad game and I want to make a beginner's guide. You can tell what happened in that game because it convinced me that it's time to make a beginner's guide. So I will show you what you should do at the start of the game. So I'm just in an empty lobby or single player. I wanted to do it on a map like this because there are a couple maps like this where there is no clear backline. So as you can see, there are starting positions like here, 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 you know, where there's 3 or 4 mexes, right? And what will happen is on maps like these where there's no backliner, so everyone is lined up on the left side, like on top of each other, there's no backline. Everyone will fight in their own lane here. So like they will fight like so. So, you know, you've basically got lanes here. And the last one's like that. You basically have lanes, and I wanted to talk about how, as a beginner, if you're on a map like this, you should absolutely not tech early. You have to frontline. You have to go to the midline here and push past it, or try to. Just pass like to the next mex past the midline. Denying these mexes, if you're on this side, will put yourself up these mexes and put the enemy down these mexes. So it's actually a 4-point swing, and since these ones are a little higher, it's actually higher. It's like 5-point swing per like line mex. So it's going to be like a 10-point mass swing if you are able to push past to the right side here. All right. So what do? You're in the loading screen. You choose a lane, right? I'm going to choose bottom lane just because. What do? All right. Your first step is to get your mexes as quickly as possible. Depending on your mex locations, they're either really close together or there's a slight walk distance from the third one. If there's a slight walk distance from the third one, you want to just cap all 3 mexes first. If there's like a walk distance, right? I don't think there's a good example on this map for a walk distance mex because these are all within range of the commander location. So you would just place 1, 2, a power generator, and then your third one. And then 2 more power generators. So you also have to consider the map, and this has a wind risk of 11, average of 11, but it can go down to 0 wind speed, so it's up to you whether you want energy storage. The higher the wind risk, the more likely you will need energy storage. You would build energy storage probably after the factory. Yeah, I like going solar first because it's very, very consistent. But we'll start the game. So I'm going to play this as if it's Frontline. So as you're getting these 3 up, you'll also consider the map because maybe you're not in a map like this, or maybe you're in like a map and you're frontlining for a backliner. You're going to consider what factory you're going to choose, either bots or vehicles. There are pros and cons for each. I personally like vehicles, but you can get away with bots. They both can do pretty well. The strategy for them are pretty similar because they both have the medium tier like unit from the factory, the medium strength unit, as well as the anti-turret, the artillery option. But for the bots, it's a rocket option. The function is the same. Their function is to take down sentries or turrets. So I will go, let's go bots. So I will go bots. We'll queue either 2 or 3. Actually, remember to keep repeat on. It's a very good idea. So I've decided that if you want to have just 1 queued as you have your army out, you can queue up like so. Oh, let's see. I don't actually go bots too often nowadays. Okay, and then so 1 engineer will come out, but I want to, once this finishes, immediately build power, right? And I wasn't done queuing, so I'll press Alt and left click on the engineer, so I'll have 1 additional engineer come out after this one, and then its queue will reset to 1. So once the factory is finished, you want to build power.
Low power.
Yeah, oh, look, this is what I was talking about with the wind speed. If the wind speed starts going down when you're going wind, you just go to solar instead. And then you want to try to get your engineer, your couple engineers faster. The reason you immediately start building power after the factory is done is because once the factory is created, it idles for like 3 seconds. Oops. Yeah. It idles for about 3 seconds, and during that time you could build a windmill. Because I saw the power went down really badly, I'm going to get energy storage this time. And also, I'm also flooding resources here, so I'm going to get a power converter as well. So the second one is going to come out here. I believe I'm only going for 2. Yes, only for 2. So I'm going to have these guys build some mexes and go to the front line for me, because this guy's going to come back, and I want him to build a construction turret. The construction turret will replace the commander. Build power. Yeah, it'll replace the commander's build power. The construction turret has 200 build power, while the commander has 300. So it'll functionally replace it, because as you can see, I'm already flooding or eating all my resources with already 300 build power at the base and the factory itself. Okay, so we've queued soldiers after the engineer, so I have done 2 engineer opening. This guy's going to return to the base. He's going to be our base builder. He'll be assisted by the construction turret. The commander is now going to go to the front line, and our engineer is going to cap the mexes behind it. Our soldiers will cover the engineer, and basically we're fighting in the lane, right? You have to cover your front lane, and then sometimes you have to watch for run-bys by the enemy neighbor. I like to queue units just at the base, so that way there's army at the front. But, you know, when you're starting, you might want to do like some scouting moves up to, you know, wherever. So I'm gonna build 1 just because I'm greedy. Sometimes you'll build, it's up to you. Usually I want to get my commander up to the front as fast as possible, so I might only build like 1 mass extractor. All right. We just rally troops to the front, right? What this guy at the base is going to do, so you should spend about 60 to 2/3 of your time microing your units at the front, and 1/3 of your time just doing stuff at the base. So this is going to finish, that's going to drain my metal and stuff, so I'm going to queue some power, and then a converter, and then another build power, and then queue them back to the factory. And just by making that queue order, the base is pretty set. And now we can micro at the front. We're going to encounter forces here, right? Depending on how early you get to the front, you want to put a turret to deny their max side, if you can get to the front without encountering an enemy commander. Your commander is the strongest unit at the start of the game. You don't want your soldiers to fight the commander this early on. If you see a commander with the soldiers, you want your soldiers to be behind the commander or do a flanking route. So with this number of pawns, I'm able to do a flank like this if I see the commander right here. This guy, he's already holding the choke for me. He can start building more of these and really contest this area. Also, do not forget radar. In fact, I will put the radar after this. Radar lets you see way further than what your troops can see. So always remember, I'm misqueuing. Always remember your radar. So that guy's gonna go, I'm gonna have him build radar at the back in case the front explodes, right? And your neighbor should ideally be around here or up here. You know, it's just somewhere up covering this flank, right? And so now you're in this sort of mid-game position where you have perhaps a flank going, right? Your commander is inching forward with turrets if he's not contested. And if he does encounter enemies, that's why you have the Rocketeers queued up at the back. The Rocketeers will now approach the front, so you'll be microing your run-by here as he's building the turrets, as the Rocketeers are making their way to the front line. So I had about half of my starting salvo of soldiers do the run-by, and the other half do run-by protection, you know, just protecting the commander, and stop any other run-bys that happen. So that's what you do. So now we have turret creep, and the commander, at this point, I would say maybe over here, the turret creep would have been halted by the enemy's turret creep, and you're in a stalemate. So you have to wait for your your Rocketeers to come in. These guys would have done damage if you have successfully avoided their commander and just run away from enemy soldiers unless they have good trades. If they encounter one pawn, you will take the trade, you will fight it. If they encounter equal numbers, you might just keep running and run towards the mexes. You want to take out mex positions because each one of these mexes is depending on the map, about 2 metal per second. So it's really important to take out mexes. That'll give you the advantage. The point of pushing past the midline is like putting your foot in a door, right? It's not going to win you the game immediately, but it builds up over time. Additionally, as you're playing the game, you have to check your top side and see what resources you need. If you're wasting metal or if you're floating metal, you want to add more power, what do you call these? Construction turrets. If you're low on energy, obviously you build more energy, right? So we're going to need more energy and then more of these guys, and let's just do a converter to round it out. And every so often, you'll just send your soldiers to the front line. I like having one engineer queued so that in case engineers die or if you want more reclaim power, you can have the engineer go to the front. Additionally, you can decide to later on build a Lazarus or add it into the queue. This is the reclaim bot. Reclaim is very important. As you're fighting on the front line with your commander, you want to press E and reclaim the area. Okay. Once the Rocketeers are at the front line, these guys serve the same purpose as artillery by vehicles. You will just use the fight command, which is F by default, and fight into the enemy turrets. So they'll line up here and they'll fire at max range at the detected turrets. Your radar will let you shoot at these. So that's why the radar is very important for that. Be sure to have your soldiers nearby the Rocketeers. So if you see enemy movement running towards your Rocketeers, you can send your Rocketeers back and your soldiers forward, and that will stop the enemies from taking out your Rocketeers. Your Rocketeers or your whatever artillery, deturret, anti-turret, anti-defense, anti-static, whatever your anti-static unit you choose, they are very expensive usually, 120, and they're very bad at fighting against equal mass in pawns. So this is like, let's say one of these guys is almost equal to 3 pawns, but this guy would not be able to take out 3 pawns. He would struggle to take out 1 if 3 of them were to fight him. So that's why you have to cover them with your. Oh, that's a weird animation. You have to defend your anti-static with your soldiers. All right. Once you secure your front line, at some point it might be a good idea to tech switch away from your fast infantry into your heavy infantry, because by this point you'll have your converters, you'll have all the mexes on your side, and you can now support the higher power unit. You might want to keep a few of these. It depends on what your style is. Every so often you'll move your troops back to the front, and you can send these guys to, I don't know, reclaim, right, and whatnot. Every so often you'll sometimes queues fail, and you have to check for that. See that we're really stalling on mass build power. We're floating way too much metal, so we gotta increase our build power here. So I'm gonna take these engineers and actually build some build power right now and queue up even more economy growth. So it depends on the game, but you could go windmill, solar. I felt like I had enough energy because I'm not being pressured too hard. Obviously being alone. I could go for advanced solars kind of early. Going for advanced solars, if this was a real game, I would say around 300 is a good location, because I was floating a lot of mass. If you're floating mass, you can go for the T3, usually around 200 plus energy for the, not the T3, but for the advanced solars. What else is there for me to cover? So I'm gonna blow up some of these units because we're to simulate fighting at the front, right? So like something like this much would probably have been eliminated by now. Maybe a little more, but like you want to keep like a sizable pocket of soldiers here, and with that sizable pocket you can do pushes or you can poke. You can run in and run out, or you can slow push with them. Additionally, if the opponent falls back to, say, here, and the enemy's ally is over here, you can actually do a run by if you just go like this. You want to look for holes in the line as well to do run bys, because fighting to turrets is very hard. Is there anything else I need to talk about? Oh yeah, at no point have I said you need to go T2 just yet. Your economy grows kind of slowly with the additional power and converters that you build. See, we're at 29 and about 3 or 4 extra mass income from all the power we've built. We don't have T2, we don't need T2 just yet. We're actually fighting pretty well and we're producing units like really rapidly, right? You would only go T2 if it's super static, right? And you want to tech, you're greedy and you want to tech. Or if you kill an enemy commander and you eat their whole body. So, you know, you do the reclaim command with E. Yeah, let's get rid of these guys. One thing that helps with control is to use unit groups. You can actually permanently unit group certain types. So these Rocketeers, I want to auto group to 2. So it'll always in all games select it to 2. And now I can micro them more easily. If you want to get rid of that, you do Control tilde, and that will get rid of that, I believe. Yeah, that means new rocket bots should not be queued, I believe. Or is it Alt tilde? I don't remember. No, it's Alt tilde. Alt tilde to remove them permanently. So I actually personally need these guys on a unit group. So I'm gonna Alt 2 these, and I want to Alt 1 my soldiers. So now I can do this. So my soldier micro and Rocketeer micro are separated, and these guys can do fight commands. One can go back here. If they encounter forces, 2 can go like that. 1 can go like that. Very nice. What happens when you can't push? It's static, right? You have a couple options. You know, you can go tech, you can keep massing units until you're ready to do a breakthrough. You have to estimate the enemy's forces and try to take fights that you believe you can win. You can also use the engineers that you've brought to the front line to build a plasma cannon. Usually you build these on high ground, but I'll just build it here for whatever reason, right? You'll keep fighting. I've gone T2 at like 20 minutes in as frontline before. Like, you don't need to go T2. If you see the enemy T2, that doesn't mean you have to go T2. You can actually just keep pressuring them, because if they sunk the cost into T2, that's 2.7k for which they are behind for mass. And ideally, you can push your advantage during that window of opportunity. Some other things you will encounter is the enemy's artillery spam. What happens if there's artillery spam and it's static? You want to build, instead of that, you want to build your sneaky peeky, your radar jammer, and cover your front line with it, right? And you can also use your command tree to build this. If you encounter a plasma artillery by the enemy, you have a couple of options. Let's say there's one like over here, and his range is like, let's get rid of that. All right, his plasma artillery is here, and his range is like this. You have a couple options. If he's built that, that means he's 1,300 mass behind in soldier count, and you might be able to just rush it immediately. You can just attempt to rush it down, right? That's one option. Your second option is to contest it with your own plasma artillery, either in range or out of range. If it's out of range, that will make this lane more static, even more static. And if you do this back one like this, then that means you can tech. That means the lane is going to be very static. Both players don't want to make that moves. I would start teching. You can also, instead of building this, is just choose not to build this. Just move your soldiers out of range and then tech up, or just continue producing soldiers. It depends on what you want to do. Yeah, because if he's sunk 130 into a plasma artillery, he doesn't have the soldiers usually to push through that effectively. Your soldiers will be able to hold the line, and you have your artillery fight their artillery. And you can tech behind that, because he's sunk so many resources into one of these. All right. Hopefully that's covered some of the basics, you know, how you're able to do a frontline. You should make always make use of your commander, always watch, and if he's getting rushed down, you press D and you click the ground to try to shoot the path of the enemy. So if there's like a unit running, if there's a unit running at the commander like this, you will shoot right in front of it, like that. Yeah, the D-gun is very important to have and to use. I mean, like, just look at this. I just go like that. It just destroys all of that. You need power to use the D-gun, so that's why you always expand your power output. So I've not done that for a while, so I'll do like that, that, that. And that'll expand my economy. And I only need to spend like 4 seconds on that, and then go back to microing units. At around, I don't know the exact timing, but anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, maybe even further, you want to build anti-air at your base as well. There's too many times where I see people not build anti-air and they just lose the game from it. The anti-air is fairly cheap. It's about the same price as an actual turret. And so at like between 5 and 10 minutes, you can 100% afford a couple of these at your base. Okay. I believe that's some of the basics. Hopefully this makes do for a basic Frontline video for the early game at least. Most of the game is like very dependent on what's happening in the game, what your resources are, what the state of the game is, who's winning, are you winning in the lane, do you have more troops of them, troops in the enemy, do they have positions where defensive positions with turrets, where is their commander, etc., etc. You will base your decisions off that, whether to focus on economy or whether you need more soldiers. It depends. When to tech, etc., etc. Maybe I'll make a video for teching specifically, but I will not teching on the front line, but I will not promise that. So hopefully this, in addition to the other videos, can help you learn some like advanced concepts. This hopefully sets you up for a good front line. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to D-gun. Oh yeah, one more thing. If a commander dies, that becomes your like highest priority to take it and reclaim it with the E command, reclaim. Yeah, if this thing dies, oh wait, this is too close. But yeah, if this thing dies anywhere in your lane or next to your lane, you want to go and reclaim that. Yeah, if you see that, it's time to just reclaim that. Oh, the game ends because I was alone, but that's what you want to do. You want to reclaim this. It's 2,000 metal. Eating that lets you go to T2, but not always. You don't always want to go T2 off the body. Sometimes you just want to keep pushing because you might lose army from losing your commander. So it's highly dependent on what the game state is. All right. Thanks for watching, though. Hopefully this helps, I guess.